Tuesday night, Wrexham trying to, I say, bounce back. I mean, it was a 0-0 draw against Bolton out the weekend, clawing 1 point back on Wycombe Wanderers. But you got to have an eye over your shoulder as well. It's not just between ourselves and Wycombe. Huddersfield probably haven't given up the goat yet, trying to get second place. We play them away on Tuesday night. Kosi is with me from And He Takes That Chance podcast. And I think we spoke earlier in the season, and then it played out into a 0-0. How are you feeling going into Tuesday night? Are Wrexham set for another 0-0, or do you fancy yourself now?
Well, I don't know if you've seen our record, Nathan. We haven't scored a goal at home since the 29th of December. So, honestly, what a strange season, mate. It's been absolutely bizarre. See, when we played you, I think we were kind of maybe... We had a great start and a horrendous kind of little period after. Then this 16-game unbeaten run. All right, there were a few, I think it was like 1-9. Drawn 7, but it's obviously still a good run. And then obviously we've just gone on a shocking run. Obviously won on Saturday as well. So we're kind of bipolar. We are all over the shop. So I don't know what you think. It'd be interesting, obviously, to get your take on things. But I honestly thought, there's recordings of me saying this. There's no getting away from it. I thought when we had won at Wycombe, middle of January, we'd just signed Joe Taylor, 3 million, and Dion Charles. We've got guys coming back from injuries. I know, honestly, but you're always put on the spot, these podcasts and stuff. But I honestly thought we were going to move on and probably get second. And wow, as soon as a message just said these immortal words, it got absolutely peaked on. I think at one point in the actual league, I think we were 8 the last week, and then we ended up turning it around. Honestly, the Wigan away game last Tuesday were horrendous. We were so bad. Just proves straight away they lost on Saturday to Reading, and that meant the end of their manager. So I think that just shows where we're at. So where are we at with everything? It's the hope that kills you. Again, like you've probably seen that Wycombe and dropping points. But I just think we've lost so many bad games, dropped so many points to have a chance of second. I just think it shows the quality of the division, in my opinion, that we're still, harbouring hopes of this second spot when we haven't even scored a goal at home, since like the last 29th of December or whatever it was, and that as well. So, yeah, we're in a bit of a mess, to be honest with you, but there's a huge caveat to that. And I know get your filing out, whatever, because every club has them. But honestly, I've never known injuries like it in all my years watching Huddersfield Town. It's unbelievable. So much so that kind of someone in the club's got sacked high up, and like one of the doctors or heading the medical team and that as well. There's so many soft tissue injuries. It's almost getting laughable. There's like in the first half of the game, so many this season we've got players going down, and that famous physio, change it kind of thing, not on the microphone. You need to bring a sub on, and the problem you've got, it reminds me of the old Football Manager games. I don't know if you'll be old enough to remember, but you used to get your players. It used to say something like 60% or 50%, and you used to think, how long can I play these guys for before we have to sub them off? And to be honest, that's been Michael Duff's remit. So you know what? There's Wycombe are doing the best to give everyone a little, glimmer and that as well. We aren't being good enough for them as well. I know your kind of form's been a bit bumpy, but obviously from where you were just a few seasons ago to where you are now, it'd be interesting, is there any heat for Parkinson? Obviously, I know it's whether it'd have been a trip out to Wembley, whatever, but obviously that was a bit of a cruel kind of way last week. But I don't know, you'd say concentrate on league, but I just think that's still a blow, even though when you're kind of doing it. But Bolton, it's really weird, isn't it? Because your expectations would be totally different. But I just think a point with Bolton is kind of a decent result. But obviously, you wanted to win, and yeah, I've kind of gone around in a tangent, and like I always do. But we're all over the shop. Can we put this run together? But part of me feels the ship has sailed, and I would take a 5th or 6th spot now, to be honest, Nathan, and that as well. If we can get in there, and even that's up for debatable. You got Nathan Jones jumping in the crowd at Leyton Orient there on a roll. Bolton got a canny manager now, I think they're on a roll. But when we played Bolton, just like middle of January, I remember walking in the game. We had my friend who's a Bolton season card holder. He's like, Dion Charles will get you the goals to get you up. You haven't scored one yet. You'll go on and get that second spot on this and that and the other. And honestly, our paths are nearly crossing, and they could be above us. And so it's all to play for. Don't think he even ruled Reading out. So it's getting really interesting as well. But I think to have any chance, mate, we've got to beat you on Tuesday. And can we beat? Yeah, God, just scoring a goal will do first. But we won yesterday. It was good to get back a win. But against, I'm not getting carried away. I know Steven, you've taken I think they might have been you at home, haven't they? That's
They did.
Yeah, but have we turned the corner? The jury's still out.
I went to Huddersfield earlier in the season for the EFL Trophy. So I was covering it, Man United under 21s against Huddersfield. Obviously, a
Yeah,
fairly nothing game, but I was chatting to some staff there, and I was chatting about how I
yeah,
support Wrexham and whatnot. And the general consensus then was that really like Michael Duff, really like his honesty, calls it
yeah,
as he sees it. We're basically just missing a striker. If we get them, and I'm with you, I saw Dion Charles come in, I saw Joe Taylor come in. I thought, right, this lot are going to get second. We still hadn't spent by that point, and to be fair, we've gone and got Sam Smith out already, who I think looks good, but we're not maybe creating enough
yeah,
chances for him.
yeah,
Jay Rodriguez struggling so far. It We mentioned about the division. That's quite interesting because it feels like everybody is just stumbling a bit
mm,
now. Leighton Orient,
one,
two
two,
really poor
yeah,
goals to
yeah,
concede. Charlton have been up and
yeah,
down. Wickham obviously dropping points left, right, and centre. Ourselves, yourselves, you've been dropped. Feels like you've
oh,
dropped points for ages. I think over the last 10 games, I think you're 20th in the league.
yeah,
Your form has
unbelievable. Yeah,
been so bad, and yet you're still in in
yeah,
in the
yeah,
mix. You were one of the probably the most defensively resolute teams I saw at the race course.
yeah,
With I think it was Pearson, Lees, those type of players in
yeah,
there, and you've got lots of experience. Well, my question was going to be about Dion Charles and was going to be about Joe Taylor, who I know's had an injury problem basically as soon as he arrived. Josh Koroma as well, Marshall.
yeah,
We talk about our striker room
mm,
struggling. Paul
yeah,
Mullin can't get on the bench now. Ollie Palmer can't be
mm,
involved. And funny, actually, he was putting up before he came on. Ollie Palmer putting up a lot of cryptic Instagram posts about his form earlier in the season
mm,
and how it's been a while, etc., etc. Jay Rodriguez hasn't scored for us yet. Sam Dolby's out on loan at Dundee United and doing really well.
yeah.
Sam Smith scored a couple of
Mm.
goals. But for you guys, it feels like you spent big and it's not worked at all.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you mentioned that Pearson and Lee's they're injured at the moment, but to be fair, our defence has been the kind of that reason why we're up there, Nathan. That's been our strength. But creativity is non-existent, mate. I mean, I watched your game. Oh God, where was it? Jawson.
Northampton recently.
It was on Thursday night. It wasn't the Shrewsbury
Oh,
one.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Yeah, and you know what? I just thought you've created loads, and it's just like we don't create much. I know Michael Duff's teams are he's obsessed with 3-5-2. I think we've gone to 4-4-2 times as well. But I think that's the thing. It's like I didn't see it as like yeah, it's obviously good to have some of the strikers. And honestly, on the books, it's a joke. We had like about 8 strikers. One of them, Radulovic, has gone to play in Holland, but Freddie Ladapo, again, another guy has scored 0 goals. I think you might have seen that goal, Nathan. He scored that Man United game you were covering. And it's
Mm.
really weird with that game, mate, because that when we were on a bad period, I remember that game coming. It was obviously kind of anonymous, but we won against obviously a team of kids. But that kind of kick start. We kind of in our bad run and went on this good run. That if you look at kind of our form when we had that 16 win run, I think that was the start of it for what it was worth in that tournament. But yeah, it was a bit. We felt they had the missing pieces in the jigsaw, but we don't create a right lot anyway, Nathan, and that as well. So I was kind of thinking, okay, for the strikers that we did have, yeah, we had 1 or 2 chances, but I didn't. You don't see a fast flowing. We don't play with wingers, mate. That's the thing. We're a wing back team, and Lars Sorensen, who's been really disappointing to be honest with me since he's come back. That first spell he had the start of the season, that was one of the reasons we got off to a bit of a flyer. Most of the goals were created from his crosses, but since he's come back, he's not hit them heights as well. And another guy as well, Mikael Miller, who's like a left-sided player. He has been a huge miss for us, mate. He got injured against Leighton Orient, I think about November time, and he's been out for months. I think he's back next month. Although we have signed a guy, again, another guy who got injured straight away with a great name called Ruben Roosken. He's a Dutch left back. He played really well on Saturday, mate. Set up one of the goals. And he's kind of a guy who's likes to get forward and get some crosses in. So we're not a free-flowing team. We've lost Herbie Kane, who probably one of our better creative players. Not the most fittest guy. You've probably seen him over the years in like the other teams. That's probably why he's never been higher really than League One. But yeah, but I'll go back to what I said a few minutes ago, mate. I won't lie. I've sat here thinking like you. We've got these, Taylor in. I mean, that first game he played, mate, his Blackpool's got a superb goal, and you're thinking, here we go. Because he's a guy who creates something out of nothing, which I think you need that kind of striker we've got. But yeah, but Charles I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest, mate. Although I think he tries really hard. Although the critics were out for him at Wigan last week, where but they did create a goal. But it's honestly, it's been such a strange season, Nathan. I think if you're a psychologist, you'd be really struggling to kind of piece it together because there's times I think we've been awful. There's times I think we were getting it together, and well, is it now March? You're thinking surely there's better to come from X, Y, Z players, but hang on a minute, mate, we're in March. But do you always have your players fit and available? Obviously not. But if we'd have had more, would we be in battle? It's all ifs and buts and maybes. You've got to check where we are now. So where we are now, can we still get second? I won't lie, I don't think I ain't closed the door on it, but it's the hope that kills you. But
Yeah.
we've got to win Tuesday, mate. I think it'd feel a really big win for us, that, because obviously we haven't even scored a goal, but I just think we haven't knocked over a powerhouse, as I would say, in the division. I'm crossing you as that, mate. So if we can go and win and look good, then all of a sudden it could, rekindle some, because I played Bristol Rovers on Saturday. I don't think they were right good yesterday against Rotherham. So, but this is football, isn't it? You're piecing it together and thinking, but
Yeah.
when I came away from Wigan last week, I thought we're not getting top six. All of a sudden now, can't we still get, honestly, just as bad as some of the fans, mate, all up and down. So, but I can't wait for the game on Tuesday, mate. It's going to be really good, really exciting. It is, because it's March. I just think when March comes, mate, it's the time to deliver. Crunch time. There's no excuses.
Crunch time.
Part of me thinks it's going to be a draw, mate, and I don't think that'll do us both good. But
I don't think that suits either. But I've got two questions then to finish us out, because now obviously my disclaimer here, my caveat would be it's not every fan that I'm going to reference right now, but every time I look on social media now, and obviously at the Wrexham games, boos are creeping in at the end of performances. I've seen people talk about Huddersfield, some fans booing them off at games, and like I say,
really
you've lost a lot of games. And there was some boos in the Bolton game for Wrexham because of the subs and whatnot. And it's getting a bit tense. Like I say, crunch time. I think everybody on and off the pitch is feeling the pressure now. You've been up there all season. You know the lottery of the playoffs. Obviously, I can speak about the Wrexham side, but on the Huddersfield side, this season, when you came into League One, did you feel there was maybe an air of entitlement that you would go back up, or why do you think the kind of the toxicity is creeping in? Is it just because it's been bad performances, or do you think there's that level of we're Huddersfield Town, we should be better than this?
I think a combination of a few things, Nathan. I think it's been a lot of seasons of struggle. I mean, people reference the Premier League and that bizarre season out of nowhere where Carlos Corberán has 90 minutes from back to the Premier League as well. But pretty much on that, it's been absolute struggle. So it's been a bit of a weird one now coming into this division. I think the chairman's been very bullish. I think that's a reason as well. Nathan, very vocal. I think there was an interview in October when he came over, and we were fifth then, and we are now.
Is this Kevin Nagel? Is it?
Yeah, and he were like, fifth is not good enough, and then we were like, hang on a minute, mate. So I'm thinking, Jesus, that when supporters hear that, and then obviously the money that's going on, Taylor, but the injuries, obviously the pressure's going on Michael Duff, but kind of realistic Huddersfield fans are thinking, hang on a minute, we've come down with a lot of this squad. Because to me, mate, only half the job's been done. We've got a lot of players who've been scarred with the relegations of the last few seasons. And there's 6 out of contract, I think, at the end of the season, mate. You mentioned that, Leeds and Pierce. I think they're 2 of them. But for me, there's still a job that needs to be done. And then I've kind of got one eye thinking Derby came up and flying, and look at them, they're bottom of the league now. And it does scare me a little bit. I can't get out of my head thinking, would it be good to kind of rebuild in League One, and then Michael Duff's got his full team, and then there's no excuses, hopefully, with luck with injuries? Or do you try and get up in the Championship and do it there, where you can maybe attract better players? But then I look around and see Portsmouth. It does worry me a little bit. I do watch, quite a lot of football, so you see that Championship game, and I know Sheffield United Leeds is a bad example last week, because obviously that's your top end, but honestly, mate, some of that football, I'm just thinking, this is another level to what I see, and it does scare me. So entitlement, I think the chairman's kind of stoked it up. It's almost like playoffs, if we don't get in the playoffs, it's a disaster, despite all the injuries, which has been unbelievable. But so he's kind of stoked up that. I honestly don't think the fans have been, we've had a kind of a good 10 years. There's been some ups and downs, but obviously, we've known League One really well, because we threw a lot of money at it before, back in the day, Lee Clark, and we didn't get out of it then until eventually we kind of spawned a penalty shootout like 13-12, I think it was, against Sheffield United 10 years ago, or 13 years ago now, whatever it was. So, I think the other thing is like, you'll know, Nathan, like, you're getting when you say no disrespect, it probably means all disrespect, but when you get Stevenage bringing like a few hundred, Northampton, whatever, people rock up and expect. All of a sudden, from a team who were expected to lose every game last season, championship, people coming up with a mentality, we're going to get beat, we're going to get beat. All of a sudden, because we spent a bit of money, we've got a chairman starting off, it's like, we've got to win. And it's like, I remember at the start of the season, I thought we might get sixth spot, just scrape into it. A couple of the podcast lads had us out of the top six. And all of a sudden, I just can't emphasise enough. I just think the division it's giving you so many chances. And really, by the form we've shown and we've had two bad runs where really that should count you any chance out of the second spot. And
sure,
we're still in there. It's just bonkers and stuff as well. But, it's been such a funny season, mate. And who knows how it's going to end. A lot of fans have kind of given up on it. There's season card prices coming out soon and they are going to go up. So, but I'd say the answer in a long-winded answer again is the chairman, mate. That's
right.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I just wonder. I thought it before the other week until we won at Barnsley. I just think I feel sorry. I like Michael Duff a lot, but his football's not great. But I honestly think, mate, if we don't get in that top six, he'll be gone despite all his injuries. But the chairman, as in his football now, so I've got to be honest, mate. I'm not sure he gets the game, to be honest with you.
Look, that was going to be my last question. So before I ask it, I will say that I think if you're Wrexham, you know that Huddersfield crowd is ready to turn. It'll be a great occasion.
Yeah.
But if you can just get an early goal or frustrate them or limit them to nothing, that crowd will turn, I think. And that's what I'm no doubt sure that Wrexham are thinking. My last question was just going to be about Michael Duff. Because the way I'm looking at the playoffs now, there are a lot of managers in that mix that are either promotion veterans who've done it, been there, or they've managed at a higher level and they know what it takes to get over the line. I'm looking at Parkinson, Duff, Challoner, who's got multiple promotions, Nathan Jones, who's managed in the Premier League, and is a galvanizer when it comes to it. Richie Wellens is working wonders with Leyton Orient. There are others, even Darryl Clark, even a little bit further down at Barnsley. Wickham, I don't know much about their managers. It Matt Dodds or something like that, but they're fine. But of the other ones that I mentioned now, I think the manager in pressure moments is going to be key. You saw it with Parkinson. That's why we were so surprised about that shootout defeat. Is that we thought he might have held his nerve. And Darren Ferguson's very experienced anyway, but. How do you feel about Duff if it really comes to the crunch when you need to make that crucial substitution? You need to give that vital team talk in maybe a playoff semi-final. How much confidence have you got in him that if you can figure things out and you get an opportunity, he will be able to get you over the line?
See, I believe still in the guy, but I reckon if you've got a lot of Huddersfield fans on taking my place and then, I think no, he won't be the man for it and that as well. Again, it comes back down to who's going to be available and fit Nathan, because Joe Taylor played 17 minutes, I think, yesterday at Stevenage, but there's no way he could play any more than that because he'll break and they're going to have to build his minutes up. So it's all right. Hopefully we get some of these guys back like Kazumu, again, he's out now, and Lee's Pearson or whatever. But if by the time comes May and we do get in there and there's injuries improve and these players who are, I mentioned like the football manager analogy where you've got hopefully these players in their 80s and 90%, I'd be confident that he'd have more options and he would be able to do it. But as you saw with Darren Moore with that Sheffield Wednesday Barnsley, the playoff final, it's ironic, isn't it? They're both at different clubs now, but it was absolute nothing. I thought Barnsley were the better team on that day, and then Josh Windus obviously scored that goal, and the season was done. Playoffs unbelievable, aren't they? As you know, God, I don't need to tell you that. I still remember you're incredible. I don't want to mention that G word, but I still can't believe. It's kind of Grimsby. I can't remember that ridiculous.
Grimsby. Yeah, you just made me say it now. Yeah, Grimsby.
That's honestly, that is football. Who couldn't predict any of that? So it's until you put it like that, we all them managers, experienced football people as well. Obviously, old enough to remember some of these guys playing and stuff like that as well. It's not going to be for the faint-hearted, but honestly,
it's interesting as well though for us because there's an argument that Huddersfield, if you don't win on Tuesday, for you it's all about let's just get in the playoffs, let's just finish in the playoffs. Whereas for us, it's like, what if we win on Tuesday and go right to the final day with Wickham and then lose out, and then we probably get beat in the first round of the playoffs? So I know you guys are downbeat on your chances, and who knows how Tuesday goes. You know,
Yeah,
if you beat us, you suddenly might
we
be
want that
positive.
spark, Nick.
But you know what I mean. If you go into
Yeah,
the playoffs knowing you're in the playoffs
yeah.
with 2-3 weeks to go, I think that can make a difference.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And that, when we did get up back in, obviously we've been up a few times in the playoffs, but the one that we famously got into the Premier League, we knew we were in the playoffs for a long time, and you could rest players, and it was really weird. We were getting beat. I remember, I think we lost 3-0 to Cardiff the last game of the season, where we were in the playoffs, and we've just about got a team out for kids and half team and stuff like that as well. I think it's the mentality as well. I think it's all about like the fans and the mindset, because we're just waiting for that spark to kickstart the season, Nathan. And honestly, you know what football's like. If we could, I think just playing well as well, not just like scraping it. But if we played you on Tuesday and won, then maybe people would think, here we go. But it's never felt. Don't know about you, but it's never felt like a promotion season at any point this season. I've never kind of drove away from the ground or whatever, but gone to the bar and thought, you know what, that's a proper team there, or that feels like a promotion season. But I get it can kind of work both ways, and it's interesting what you say there, with your fans because part of me thinks, well, hang on a minute, a few years ago you were playing at Chester and losing in a derby at National League level or whatever, but it's like, but things are different now, obviously, with the owners and the expectation and stuff. So for you to getting booed off and stuff, it's crazy where you think, well, hang on a minute, you've non-stop promotions. Just I remember Parkinson saying at the start of the season, I watched that interview with him, like, we'll consolidate this year. And I thought, you know what, mate, I know what you're saying, but it won't wash all that. And fans are unbelievably demanding and stuff. So maybe, they expect Huddersfield to come back up, but it's fascinating to hear yours. So I'm not saying pressure's on you on Tuesday, because I know he'll be saying they've spent money and big stadium, blah, blah. But yeah, you need to deliver as well. That's what makes it going to be such a great game, I think, on Tuesday, whether it'll be an exciting game, a League One and exciting games. We don't see many of them, but no, looking forward to it a lot. And we'll see what happens. But you know what? Part of me wonders, mate, if it won't be the last time we see each other this season.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? I mean, high stakes game. We shall see how it goes on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I will wish you all the best. Reminder that if you want to dial into what we will hope from our side is a miserable and he takes that chance podcast next time. Next time they come out, if you want to dial into that, you can. He takes that chance on social media. If they win, just disregard the last 30 seconds, because we will not want to hear their gloating. Thanks to Kosi, and all the best for Tuesday night.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Faye.